Painting was something that I always did. Started off as a very small boy. Would draw pictures and things, and the other kids at school would come over to me and ask me, would I draw this? Would you make a picture of me for this?
Mm-hmm.
And I was practicing, but I was also very proud when they asked me to do this. And you wouldn't believe how many, as a young kid in the grammar school, I could turn out some darn good. Nobody would say they were good today, but for me, for them, and for the other kids, they were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they usually would end up drawing, because it's what I mainly drew, was World War I aircraft. Not flowers, not pretty girls, but pictures of airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because that's what I enjoyed. That was my thing, and a lot of kids liked those things. So I would come up with all kinds of drawings, and somebody would come over to me sometimes and ask for a flower. Well, I'd never drawn flowers, so I had to learn how to draw flowers. So it was just that way, that talking back and forth and doing favors and having fun with them. It was a quick way to learn, not formally, but it sure was effective. Because when you made a lousy painting, or drawing, or whichever it was, usually a drawing, the kid would soon let you know.
You got immediate feedback on your art.
Yeah, I got immediate feedback, so that was nice. That's how I got started into it. As I began to get better at it, of course, I started taking lessons, and I had a very fine teacher in Norfolk, Virginia, who was a world-renowned violin maker.
You taught painting?
Oh, not painting. I'm sorry, I got the wrong guy.
I was gonna say he really was a talented
no,
man.
He wasn't. He was known for his
directing and whatnot.
Yeah, directing and music, teaching lessons.
But did you take painting lessons, or did you do that on your own?
No, I did this with him. I was studying violin.
Yeah.
Not painting.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. Yeah.
So anyway, I sometimes have a little trouble remembering what the hell I was doing. But I carried my violin. See, I was living in Portsmouth. This guy was in Norfolk, Virginia. And I had to take my violin on the ferry boat and go across the ferry boat and so forth.
Just to see him, yeah.
So I met a lot of interesting people. Just the walk, which was not a real long walk, but it was a pretty good distance. I'd always meet somebody and ask me about the violin, because I was still a young guy. And they would ask me, what you doing? And I'd tell them I was going to taking some lessons. They said, you're pretty good. There'd be conversations as I walked along. And
well, did you start I know you painted a lot of seascapes to begin with.
Yeah.
Did you do that because of walking down to that port, or how did you start painting boats? Because you were painting planes.
Well, I lived right there on the water.
Uh-huh.
So ships came in all the time, and I was used to, one of my other hobbies was to be on the water in an old boat that the guy had given me, and a lot of times the other kids would go with me. We saw some interesting things that way.
So did you start painting your first boat scenes from the things you did out on your own boat?
Yes, all pictures of ships coming in.
Oh, okay.
It was all anything, but mostly it was related to the water. And it still has been.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm trying to see we've forgotten where we're going. I was getting lessons, I was meeting people, and it was getting time for me to consider that I might have to go into the draft. And so the teacher said, why don't you go ahead and master the things that could be used in a naval band.
He was looking ahead for you.
Yeah, he was looking ahead for me. So when you get drafted, you'll go into a naval band. The Navy, all the ships have bands and things. And I said, well, I can give it a try, So I began to experience actually playing with Navy people studying for the Navy bands. It was about my first entrance. And as far as the playing, I didn't have too much trouble with the actual playing itself, but to fit into the group and to know how to fit in there. And then, of course, I got opportunities to play, invitations sometimes to play via my teacher. For
Ah,
example, he told George Walker, this guy's getting along to play now, and
is this when you took up the clarinet as well?
I took up the clarinet as well
Because of the Navy band?
because of the Navy band.
Ah, that makes much more sense.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And later on, Pat took up the clarinet and took my clarinet.
Ah, that's interesting.
So,
So it was, yeah, to get it with the Navy band, so you had not just the violin, but the clarinet as well.
mhm.
Did you end up playing with the Navy band?
What became Navy bands. I
Okay.
never got to play in a Navy band, but I was, had I gotten called into it, I was ready.
Okay. you were ready.
I could have taken an assignment.
So did Pat play with you at any of these events, or was she still too
Sometimes
young?
we played in the park, and she would go along and she'd play clarinet.
Oh, okay.
So it was a very interesting experience. However, I never did enlist in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my teacher was very unpleased with this. He said, you know, you should do this. You're going to have to go into combat now. You're going to have a whole different career. You could have spent this thing right around here, right around Norfolk,
Yeah.
playing in the Navy bands. And I said, I explained to him that no, that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to.
You told him about the ordnance school and your so you kept in touch and updated him as you went to
Yes,
ordnance school.
absolutely. He was a very nice fellow.
Yeah.
And in fact, nearly everybody I met was nice.
Yeah.
Walter Hammer was nice. His wife wasn't so nice, but
So when did you do the first boat painting that you sold?
that I sold.
Yeah, because I remember you said you actually sold some when you were a young man.
Oh
didn't
yeah.
you?
Well, it didn't take too long. As I said, I've been drawing airplanes
Mm-hmm.
since I was 6 years old. So the feeling of sky, distance, and things was had become intuition, not formal training.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was very easy for me to shift over from World War I aircraft to ships.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a much bigger market for ships, as you can well imagine, especially in a naval area, ship area. So
Did you go down to the waterfront, or did people just word of mouth through friends?
I invited myself to a shop that sold these and suggested that I might be able to supply some of these things if you'd like to do business. And he looked at my work and he picked out about one or two from 15 or 20 and said, these I could sell. So I had to get a little bit better than I was doing, but they took it. He said, yeah, you come on, I think I can move your work.
Mm-hmm.
And did.
That's great.
So that sort of came, it came without any effort.
Mm-hmm.
I never really agonized over learning to paint. It sort of happened from beginning 6 years old.
Yeah, you just kept doing it.
So just kept doing it.
No, but that's how many a good bluegrass musician develop their skills as well.